Let's check again how many observations we currently have in our dataset. So type describe, and we have 1260 observations. Next, we're going to use command keep. This command instructs Stata to keep specified variables or observations in the data and delete the rest. Here we need to keep only married individuals, so we type keep if married equals to 1. Now here Stata provides a little note which says how many observations have been deleted. Let's type describe and check again how many observations we have in our dataset. And we now have 871, which is less than before. Next, we want to save this new dataset. We're going to type command, save, and we're going to name our dataset as EC252, lab, data 1, married, extension DTA, and replace. Let's load the original dataset. We're going to type use EC252 lab data 1 extension DTA and clear. Next, we're going to tell Stata to keep only 3 variables and delete all others. We're going to type keep wage, married, and female. We're going to type describe, and we still have 1260 observations, but now we have only 3 variables. Next, we're going to save this new dataset. We're going to type save EC252 lab data 1 and subset extension DTA and replace. Note that extension DTA is optional. Even if we don't specify one, Stata will give the file DTA extension. And the data has been saved. We're going to load the original dataset, so type use EC252 lab data 1 and clear. Once you have loaded data into Stata, you can take the original variables and transform them into new variables. To create a new variable named lwage, which is a natural logarithm of the variable wage, the required command is generate. The second part of the command specifies the new name of the variable, which is lwage, and its values, which in this case is a log of wage. Note that the variable names cannot contain spaces, and also note that the function log wage is also the natural logarithm and so will produce the same results. Attaching a label to a variable is straightforward. We type label followed by a variable because we want to assign a label to a variable, and this is followed by the name of the variable to which we want to assign a label, which is lwage, and finally the actual label, which has to be enclosed in double quotes. Now type describe, and now the variable lwage has a label associated with it. Note that if no label is specified, any existing label will be removed. we're going to use command generate. So we type generate, the name of a new variable, which is xPair_sq. And here we use arithmetic operator, which tells Stata to raise each entry in the variable xPair to the power of 2. You can also use this operator to raise to any power you want. And we have created a new variable. Note that we could also type the following command to get the same result. And this will produce exactly the same result. Next, we're going to label this variable as experience squared. And open double quotes. Let's type describe. And now we can see that there is a label associated with this variable. Okay, so let's type tabulate female. When the values of the variable female are unlabeled, the table for the variable female will look like this. Every entry for observation takes value of 1 if it's female and 0 otherwise. However, when working with categorical variables, it will be easier to read table if we had proper labels. And this is precisely what value labels do. They attach labels to particular values of a variable. So first step is to define the value label. We're going to type label define. And next we're going to name our value label as female underscore label. And then we're going to instruct Stata to assign to 0 label called male, and to the value of 1 assign label called female. Second step is to attach this label to the variable female. So we'll type label values female and female label. In words, we're instructing Stata to label values of a variable female using value label called female label. You may see the results using the command tabulate. So we're going to type tabulate female. And this is how the table will look when the values of a variable female are labeled. So now, instead of 0 and 1, we have male and female. We can also tap edit female to see the data. And note that the entry for first observation appears as female in the data browser, but when you click on it, it becomes 1. And the same goes for male entry. This means that data is still in numerical form, but has been labeled so that each number refers to a gender, male or female. In order to know the names of value labels stored in memory, we can type label dir. So currently we have only one value label. And if we also want to know the contents of value labels, we can type label list. And this provides the content of a value label. First, we need to download Excel spreadsheet called EC252 lab2 from the online resource bank and save it into your M drive. Then we're going to open the spreadsheet. I have it open already. And we're going to highlight and copy the data, including the variable names. In Stata, we'll type Edit to access the data editor. And then we're going to select the first row of the first column. And then we're going to paste. Then Stata will ask you whether you want to treat the first row as data or variable names. If you go back to the Excel file, you can see that we also copied the first row, which contains names of the variables. So we should tell Stata to treat first row as variable names. So click on variable names. Next, we're going to exit the data editor. If you look here, Stata has already provided a little note which says how many variables and observations have been imported into Stata. We're going to verify this by typing describe, short, and the output tells us that we have 526 observations and 21 variables. Next, we're going to save this dataset in EC252 Stata Lab folder. First, I'm going to check my current working directory. I'm going to type pwd, and this is my current working directory. So in order to change to that folder, I'm going to use command cd, and I don't need to type the full path to that folder. So I type EC252 Stata Lab, and now my current directory is EC252 Stata Lab folder. Next, I'm going to save my dataset in this folder. I'm going to type save. The name of the dataset will be EC252 lab data2 and replace. And our dataset has now been saved. In previous question, we have stored our dataset in folder EC252 Stata Lab, and next we're going to change current working directory to that folder. First, we're going to type pwd to check current working directory, and my EC252 Stata Lab folder is located within this directory. So I only need to type cd and the name of the folder, which in this case is EC252 Stata Lab. If your folder is not located within current working directory, then you will need to type the full path to the required folder. Now we're going to open a log file, so we type log using and the name of the log file, which is lab2, and replace. We have used extension .log, so our log file will be recorded in text format. Okay, next we're going to open a data file, EC252 lab data2. So we're going to type use EC252 lab data2 and clear. And this opens the data file. Next, we're going to type describe, and again, the table tells us how many observations and variables we have in the sample. And note that variables in this dataset are not labeled. And next, we're going to type summarize, and this provides summary statistics for the data. To know how many females we have in our sample, we can use the tabulate command. So we're going to type tabulate female, and there are 252 females in the sample. We could also use another command count, which counts the number of observations that satisfy the specified conditions. So we're going to type count, and the condition we're going to specify is if female equals to 1. And the output gives you the same number, which is 252. If no conditions are specified, count simply displays the number of observations in the data. Next, we're going to tabulate non-white. So we type tabulate non-white. And there are 54 non-white individuals in the sample. Next, we're going to type tabulate married. And there are 320 married individuals in the sample. In order to know how many married women are in the sample, we're going to type tabulate female married. And there are 132 married women in this sample.